Hi, so this is Lindsay Kemp. She is a 25-year-old woman who works full-time and currently lives on her own. This is our second session together, and we'll be focusing on reducing her general anxiety about the future, career choices, family, and just everyday obstacles using acceptance and commitment therapy. And then during this session, we'll be using the choice point activity just to identify what thoughts and actions she currently has that are helping or hindering her progress. And then we'll go over a really short diffusion exercise just to kind of give her some skills for when she's lost in those thoughts. And then in order to just assess progress, we're going to continue meeting and discuss how these activities are working for the client in order to find if there's any areas that need adjustment or change. And then during last session, I administered the General Anxiety Disorder 7 assessment prior to our meeting, and I will re-administer this near the end of our sessions to see if her anxiety levels have decreased. Okay. Hi, Lindsay. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I know last time we kind of talked about you maybe having some anxiety around career choices and family. How has that been this past week?
It's been okay. My family overall, as you know, my sister and my mom have a very difficult relationship with each other. And so sometimes they don't talk for months at a time, and then I feel very in the middle of it. And very randomly they will start talking and then things will like go back to normal. But whenever I do spend time with my family, beforehand, I always really like anticipate, especially when it's all four of them, anticipate some type of like blow up of some kind. And it's very stressful for me because when I was a little kid, like it was like really, I would just like umbrella wise, I would just say it was really dramatic and it would scare me a lot. And so I still have like those feelings. So this time, everyone came to Portland because that's where I live. Came to Portland, and we didn't have Thanksgiving together, but we all like spent time individually together. And then on Saturday morning, yesterday, we all had like a big breakfast together. So it was like all six of us, including my sister's partner and mine. And it went like really, really well up until like the last 5 minutes.
What happened in those last 5 minutes?
It's like I think some part of, okay, I'll tell you what happens and then I'll tell you how I feel about it. So we're there just like sitting and eating outside, and it was really nice. It was warm generally, and we had like a heater next to us and stuff. It was super nice. And everyone got done and we were just like talking about random things, and my sister was trying to have a conversation like with me and my dad or something, and my mom was listening, like sitting right next to her. And my mom's like trying to just like mother her, like how sometimes moms like nitpick at their daughters. And my sister was trying to like take off her sweatshirt, and part of her bra like showed up underneath it a little bit while she's taking it off. And my mom's like her reaction was like pull the shirt down for my sister, and that wasn't okay. Like it was unwarranted. And my sister was just like, don't do that, I can like take it off myself. But I don't think she understood like what was going on or something. I watched the whole thing, and then they just like sat there and bickered for like 5 minutes, and it was like really awkward for all like the four other people at the table.
Yeah, that sounds difficult. It sounds like from what you said, kind of maybe you have a lot of anxiousness leading up to these meetings that something like this situation could occur while you're
yeah, and it wasn't even like that bad. But just like the last time I was with my family all together was my dad's birthday, which was like 5 months ago, and there was like this like huge like fight with lots of yelling, and it was the first time my Mo, my boyfriend, had ever met my family too, and that was like really embarrassing for me, like really confusing. Not like everything has to be like happy and nice all the time, but it was just like, why is it okay for, I don't know, like why does there have to be like yelling and screaming in front of people that we don't really know that well either? And it just like kind of takes everyone else's feelings out of it, and they're only focusing on themselves too when they're in that situation.
Yeah, that
And
can.
I sort of feel like I have to do something about it because I care about both of them. And it's just this vicious cycle from like when ever since I was like in high school and I was starting to notice my mom and my sister not doing well.
Yeah. No, that sounds really difficult, and it makes sense that it can cause you anxiety because it's been a constant pattern throughout your whole life. It sounds like from starting from childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
How has the career stuff been going?
Well, it's been going okay. I have sort of like seen my connection from like where like family anxiety can like trickle into like other parts of my life, you know?
Mhm.
And I know that it's like really complicated too, but uh like not knowing what to do like with my family kind of like goes into like other types of decision making I have to do for like my adult life, and I get really anxious, and I sort of like immediately, so I have a job that I really like right now, but for some reason I think like 12 steps ahead all the time, and I feel like I'm not doing something that I should be doing. I feel anxious about making enough money. And I don't know what to do next. So I've been looking at engineering programs, which is supposed to be like really exciting, but for some reason, like I get like really stressed out about potentially making a change because I don't know, I don't like trust. I don't have a very good self-trust, I think,
Okay. Yeah,
sometimes.
it sounds like there's a lot of options that your life and directions it can go in, and
Yeah.
maybe some uncertainty on where you want to go from here.
Yeah.
Um, so a modality that I think could be really helpful for us is called acceptance and commitment therapy. And this helps us by having us focus on the things that are important and meaningful to us. So it's normal that we're all going to experience pain or difficulty in life. And sometimes this can even happen when, like, a painful situation isn't actually happening, but we recall a painful memory or something like that. So um, it's really common and normal that we'll have kind of distressing moments. And so acceptance and commitment therapy helps us by reminding us of our values and aiding us in being more present and focusing on appreciating life. Is that something you think you could be interested in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, so I sort of want to start with this activity. And it's commonly used in acceptance and commitment therapy. It helps us to identify the behaviors the behaviors we may want to change, and where we'd rather refocus our time with that. So this activity is called Choice Point, and I'm going to draw it out and show you as we go through this, just so you have a visual aid with it.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I forgot to unlock my door.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Be right back. Okay.
All right. So we're kind of always doing things. So that could be breathing, working, listening to things, eating. Our body and our mind are constantly doing things and processing things.
Mhm.
And so some of these things we do are really useful. They help us move towards our goals or like the life we want, sort of the person we really want to be. And so we're going to call these towards moves. So I'm just going to draw a little arrow here. Oops, misspelled towards. Okay. So this is kind of what I'm drawing right now. So this would just be an arrow representing these are activities or thoughts that are helping us move towards a more positive, in a more positive manner and where we want to go. And so these are things that give our life meaning, a sense of fulfillment. And so I'm hoping that through our time together, we can kind of increase this. At the same time, we're not always going to be doing towards moves. So sometimes we're doing things or thinking things that move us away from our goals or values. And these will be called away moves. So that will just kind of be in the other direction. And these are when we're not acting like the person we want to be. They're things that we try and do like less of with our time together. We're going to try to reduce these things. So constantly throughout our day, we're doing things that are moving towards and away. Because as I said, we're constantly active and doing things. And it's normal that we're not always doing towards moves. Negative thoughts and situations will come up during our life, and that's completely normal. It's more of an issue when, say, we're making the majority of our moves are away moves. And so oftentimes when we kind of have like a negative thought or situation occur, we can get hooked in that. And so I'm going to write hooked right next to the away arrow and unhooked at the towards arrow. And so oftentimes when we get hooked by things, they almost like control us. They're like pushing us around, and we get so lost in this thought, for example, that we're not focused on what we're doing anymore. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm.
So all of that's completely normal. We all do this. It's when we get stuck and hooked by these moments, and oftentimes that will cause us to do a lot of away moves. So what we want to do with our time is get better at unhooking ourselves, and implementing more towards moves. So I'm going to draw a circle right between both arrows, and this will be called the choice point. So that's kind of the spot that we can choose, okay, are we going to go and make an away move or get unhooked and do a towards move?
Mm-hmm.
So when we, the more we're going to get hooked by these thoughts or feelings, the more likely we'll make away moves. But the more we unhook ourselves, the easier it's going to be to make towards moves. And so in order to get better at doing towards moves, getting unhooked, we have to learn unhooking skills, and we need to know what type of towards moves we want to make. So I kind of want to personalize this for you. So if you could think of like, what are common things or things you find yourself sometimes thinking or doing that you feel are really pushing you towards the person you want to be or feel fulfilling?
Oh, when I am, I don't know. I think like When I feel like I am making a positive impact. Also, when I'm not being so hard on myself, I find that I do better when I'm not like trying to always like better myself or like put so much pressure on myself. Like when I'm thinking like no matter what, everything's gonna be fine.
Okay.
Towards moves for me would be like I guess to like becoming the right or like a person that I want to be or those that I should be sit dating. Um let's say someone who is like confident, um uh
Do that makes you feel more confident.
um
Or are there situations?
situations that make me feel more confident is when I have like all of the information I need and when I've like for instance like at work when I've had like enough time to prepare myself
Okay,
and when I've created enough time to prepare myself.
great. That's really good. So I've just been writing those down kind of under the towards side. Um, what are some thoughts or things you do that you feel bring you away from that person you want to be or would be under that away moves?
Um ooh, I'll just stick with like my career um in general since I'm sort of thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like um I sort of give myself an out sometimes of being like the baby and not knowing anything, but that like that narrative for myself doesn't actually serve me very well because then when I'm in like a meeting, I either like don't push myself to like express my critical thoughts or I have them but I am too anxious to say anything because I've told myself like, oh, you're just a baby here, like you don't know anything, maybe you should let someone else speak.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Great.
happens to me a lot. And
Okay.
then like feeling unprepared, and maybe I actually am, but
Okay.
I don't allow myself to feel that way.
Yeah, that sounds like maybe you'll start to feel anxious when you're not feeling prepared because one of the things you said when you move towards is when you feel like you're really prepared and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then kind of that internal thought of I'm just a baby.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing, or I don't maybe have the right words.
And then also like um something that is difficult for me right now is like I have a job that's like demanding a lot of my time. And it's great. I like my job. It doesn't pay very well, which stresses me out a little bit, but I enjoy my job. But then because it doesn't like pay very well and I know that I need more skills, I have a hard time to like let the time go past, like the time just pass and become more knowledgeable through my job. Um, and I end up like looking at engineering programs, which is also great. Like it's also a good choice that I could make. And then that takes up a lot of my headspace, which then stresses me out. And then I don't feel prepared in my job because I'm thinking about like potentially leaving it.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe that sense of not being, super present in what you're doing, but then also maybe like some guilt about, okay, I'm looking at other possibilities and
Yeah, it keeps me from being present sometimes.
Okay. So oftentimes, we kind of made this like cute little diagram of
Mhm.
um, things you feel move you towards and things you do that you feel move you away. Um, and so when this comes up, when we start, having these thoughts or being in these situations that cause us to get hooked, kind of negative thoughts or situations, something we can do to get out of that are diffusion techniques. Um, so this can help like separate ourselves from them a little and be able to identify kind of that thought more accurately.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if you would be willing to try one really quick to see how it feels.
Sure.
All right. Um, so I know one of the thoughts you mentioned that you commonly get hooked on is I'm just a baby. Would you want to use that one, or is there a different negative self-talk thought that you would rather use?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you just for the next 10 seconds to really allow yourself to get caught up in that thought, I'm just a baby, and just really feel it and, allow yourself to just really be like, I am just a baby and get all caught up in that thought. So if you want, we can close our eyes and you can kind of just focus on that for a little bit and how it feels in your body and just the emotional reaction you might have.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty much already there.
Okay, you're already feeling it. Yeah. Okay. So how does it feel then?
It feels like I'm imagining being on a Zoom call with a bunch of people and everyone like expressing thoughts about a project that we're supposed to be doing. And that like those thoughts that I tell myself like keep me from like fully engaging in the conversation and like maybe being more I don't know, more thinking more creatively, asking more questions, things like that. And then it actually like stresses me out that I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then yeah, then I just feel kind of like bad about myself because I'm not doing that. But it all came from kind of like, you don't know anything.
Okay. And how does it, when you kind of let yourself focus on that or get caught up in it, how does it feel in your body?
Uh, like my stomach is kind of like tight, and also that I just kind of like have lost my motivation and like don't really want to be here anymore.
So it sounds like that thought definitely causes some stress and anxiety and maybe makes you feel a little more isolated at work or less able to share your thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to do the same thing, but this time in front of I'm just a baby. I want you to add I'm having the thought that. So I'm having the thought that I'm just a baby.
Okay.
And so kind of just allow yourself to get caught up in that again, but really with the phrase I'm having the thought in front of that.
Okay. I'm having the thought that I'm just a baby. And the thought also says that I don't know anything.
Okay.
Um, and then that thought makes me feel that thought makes me feel unmotivated.
All right. How does it
And then
feel putting that in front of that word? Do you feel distance at all from it?
it takes, yeah, yeah, it takes like my brain, it takes like who I am like out of the conversation, and it's more so like like what my brain is telling me versus like who I actually am.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good. And how did it feel? Did it feel any different, like internally? I know in the last one you said your stomach kind of feels tight when you have those thoughts.
Yeah, it like allows me to like reconsider um uh my like predispositions like about myself, and that like, oh, other people like probably don't think this much about me as I think about me. Um and also, who gives a shit what people think?
Very true. Good one. Um, how do you feel about this exercise in general?
I like it. I've done this before, a little bit, and it's something that I don't practice very often, but it's something that would be good for me to continue.
So, on that note, I know we're running out of time, but for your homework for next week, I would challenge you to try this over the next week. And so, kind of allowing yourself to identify when you might be having those negative thoughts, and it can be this one or it can be others, um, and rephrasing that. And so, reframing it with that I'm having the thought that, because, as we went through here, it can kind of sometimes help us distance ourselves and remind our brain that it's okay that I'm having this thought and I acknowledge I'm having this thought, but that might not mean that it's what the reality of the situation is. Um, so if you're willing, I would like to have you try to implement that a little bit more this week, and then we can discuss how it went in our following session.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Well, it was great seeing you today, Lindsay, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
Thanks, you too, Abby.